Ethical issues arising from counselor-client relationships. The client is in a very vulnerable position, and the effectiveness of therapy depends upon the quality of relationship between the therapist and the client. This means that if there is a good relationship that is established between the client and the therapist, then the therapy is very effective. Now, how do we reach to that level where the therapy is very effective? Respect of autonomy. Now, the client has his own ethics, the counselor has his own ethics. But without judging the client, the counselor is supposed to understand the values, the morals, and the values and morals of the client. He's supposed to understand the culture of the client, and he's supposed to select a proper therapy. He has the authority, the therapist has the authority to select the appropriate therapy for the client. And this can only happen if he's and proper effectiveness of the therapy can only happen if the counselor does not judge the client, if the counselor understands the client, understands the culture of the client, understands the morals and the beliefs of the client. And sometimes what happens, if this doesn't happen, there are probable chances that the rejection of interpretation happens. Whatever problem that the client comes up with and the interpretation that the therapist gives, there might be rejection. So this leads to a very ineffectiveness of the therapy. The second point is that contracting and informed consent. Now this is very important. The client must be able to give valid consent that he completely understands the nature of the therapy. That is, the therapist has to give the information regarding the number of sessions that will take place, the place, the time, the confidentiality should be given, should be the confidentiality will be protected, the possible outcomes of the therapy and the responsibility of the client, the termination of the therapy, as well as the payment before the work begins. Now this contract, which has everything with possible information, which has the information about what will happen during the therapy, what are the possible outcomes, when will give a clear picture about what the client has come, why the client has come here for a therapy, what the therapy is all about, and will give him the freedom to choose if he want therapy. And this will promote fidelity and beneficence. The third point is confidentiality. Now confidentiality is very important. The therapeutic relationship depends upon the client being sure that his or her secrets are safe with the therapist. Promising total confidentiality is also unethical, you know, because sometimes in the cases of, you know, suicidal threats and homicidal threats and, you know, some kind of physical and sexual abuse, the parents are this uh, the parents or you know this the parents might have to know that. So providing total confidentiality is also unethical, but also being true is very important. You know, sometimes you have to be very true about what you say. The fourth point is sexual harassment. Now, unaccepted touching is not no, it's very unethical in counseling. Unexpected touching and sexual advances and vulgar training material is easy to point out and is a no in counseling. The last one is dual relationship. Dual relationship is where, you know, the client and the and the therapist, you know, develop a very loving and sexual relationship, which is no. Exploitation is never the client's fault.